The low, monotonous hum of the Soviet space station Mir was a living thing, etched deeply into the subconscious. This sound had haunted flight engineer Sergei Krikalev for 7 consecutive months. Inside the habitation module, the air smelled of ozone, warm electronics, and that specific, unmistakable scent unique to closed life support systems. Sergei gently pushed off from the bulkhead with his fingers and drifted to a halt in front of a large, circular porthole. Below, 400 kilometers beneath his feet, the giant white and blue marble of Earth rotated slowly. From up here in space, the planet looked like a single, living organism. No borders, no customs checkpoints, no political slogans. Just pure, fragile beauty. But Sergei knew, down there, the world was losing its mind. When he zipped up his spacesuit at the Baikonur Cosmodrome on May 18, 1991, everything was different. On his left sleeve was a bright red patch with 4 letters, USSR. He launched into orbit as an officer of a great space superpower, backed by a colossal state apparatus, factories, institutes, and millions of people. His mission was clear, scheduled to the minute, and his return home was planned in just 5 months. Everything changed in August. Radio communications with mission control in Korolyov, near Moscow, became fragmented and strange. Instead of the usual dry technical readouts and warm greetings from loved ones, a barrage of static increasingly broke through the headphones, carrying the anxious voices of the controllers. "Sergei, we've got tanks on the streets here," one of the operators said in a muffled, almost whispered tone, breaking all communication protocols. "There's a coup in Moscow. A state of emergency." Krikalev exchanged glances with his commander. Floating in zero gravity in the middle of a frozen vacuum, they suddenly felt like the loneliest people in the universe. Their families were down there, at the epicenter of a brewing catastrophe, and they were completely powerless. They could only look through the porthole at the night lights of Moscow, wondering if they would ever see their homes again. By autumn, the political storm on Earth had quieted, but chaos took its place. Every new communication session brought shocking news. One by one, the republics declared independence from the Union. The vast country, which had seemed indestructible, was cracking at the seams. And in December 1991, Sergei was essentially told bluntly, "The country that sent you into space no longer exists." At the end of December 1991, the red flag over the Kremlin was lowered, and the Russian tricolor was raised. The Soviet Union officially ceased to exist. For Sergei Krikalev, this geopolitical disaster translated into a harsh and very grounded reality. The state that guaranteed his return was gone. The new government was paralyzed by an economic crisis, and there was simply no money left in the budget for space exploration. To make matters worse, the Baikonur Cosmodrome, from which all manned Soyuz spacecraft were launched, was suddenly located on the territory of another, now independent nation, Kazakhstan. The new leadership of the republic demanded massive amounts of foreign currency for the lease of the launch pads. Sergei was supposed to return home in October, but there was nothing to fly back on. Mission Control could only shrug. The controller's voice in the headphones sounded apologetic. "Sergei, there is no funding. We cannot send a replacement crew. If you leave now and mothball Mir, the station will die. Without attitude control, it will fall out of orbit and burn up. Please stay." Krikalev understood perfectly what he was risking. Long-term exposure to zero gravity is not just romance, it is the slow destruction of the human body. Cosmic radiation bombards the body every single second. Without resistance, muscles begin to atrophy, the heart weakens, and bones lose calcium, becoming as fragile as glass. 24 hours a day, he had to exhaust himself on the station's treadmill just to have a chance of standing on his own feet again someday. "If it's necessary for the program, I will stay," Sergei answered calmly. He accepted this challenge not for glory, but to save the colossal work of thousands of people who had built the station. In the global press, he was already openly called the last citizen of the USSR and the ghost of orbit. While people on Earth stood in endless breadlines, changed their passports, and watched the collapse of their familiar way of life, Sergei continued to circle above them at a speed of 28,000 kilometers per hour. His only thread connecting him to home was rare radio patches with his wife, Elena. She worked in the very same mission control center, and her brief updates frightened the cosmonaut more than any technical malfunctions on the station. She spoke of hyperinflation, of prices rising every day, and of familiar shops closing down. Sergei listened to her from the quietest place in the universe, realizing that he would have to return to an entirely alien world. In March 1992, after 311 days in space, Sergei Krikalev finally returned to Earth. His descent module tore through the atmosphere at breakneck speed and landed in the snow-covered Kazakh steppe. When the rescuers opened the hatch, the cosmonaut had to be carried out by hand. His body had completely forgotten how to handle gravity. Sergei's face was pale from exhaustion, but the USSR patch still glowed red on his spacesuit sleeve, a symbol of a nation that no longer existed. During his flight, the rubles had lost their value, streets had been renamed, and Soviet ideals had vanished. Sergei had left his homeland only to return to a strange, capitalist world. Yet, his feat proved that while empires crumble and flags change, loyalty to duty and the stars above us remain forever.